The Asian community is literally so anti-black, and it literally pisses me off. Like, we are literally so uneducated, uninformed, just misinformed, everything about the black community, and it pisses me off. And like, it just boggles my mind how a lot of Asians see black people as beneath them.
Grand rising kings and queens from Africa and across the ocean. Today's message is one of the truth, one of the reflection and awakening. Now, right now the world is starting to talk. There's an episode I did yesterday about black people outside America are starting to see the truth about black Americans, and they are saying sorry. And this goes even to other communities like Asian Americans, Latinos Americans, even white people are now coming out and saying, you know what? They lied to us about black people. The awakening is here. And today's video is about Asian and American. They are coming out and saying, you know what? We were told this and this. We were lied about this. And they are saying that we were fooled about black people. Now, let that sink in. This is not just one man's confession. This is a crack in the wall of deception that has been, or that built the system for centuries. Because for generations, the world was told a story about black people, a story of inferiority and failure, but that story wasn't written by black people. It was not written by us. It was written about us. It was written by those who feared our light. It was written by those who feared our brilliance and our divine connection. Now, when someone outside our community finally stands up and says, I believe the lies until I met them. Now, that moment isn't just about guilty. That moment is about revelation. Because it shows that the illusion is breaking. And once people see the truth, they can never go back to the lie. And there's one of my friend from Barbados who was texting me and told me that sometimes we see white people coming out and this other community coming out and saying, you know what, we are sorry. But we need to do a background checkup, because most of them have been benefiting from these privileges. So we need to see the genuinity in them. We just don't embrace anyone that comes and say, you know what? No, we know it's time for awakening, but as black people, we need to be so much vigilant. Now, let's watch this clip first, and then I'll come back with more commentary.
I say we as an Asian, like, we heard about America, and we learned that to survive in this country, we needed to align ourselves with whiteness and not blackness, because we didn't want to catch that smoke, essentially. So we aligned ourselves with whiteness. And so proximity to whiteness keeps us, quote unquote, safer. But in doing that, they can be like, model minority. If the Asians can do it, why can't you do it? And so we created a wedge as people of color against other people of color.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. Yeah, it's a whole thing. And then like the riots in LA, the wedge theory came in crazy because professionals from Asia came, but they're not allowed to be doctors here. But they can get a loan because they're proximity to whiteness. But they can only get a loan in black neighborhoods.
Right.
Where black people could not get loans. Right. And so there's that automatic tension.
It's really heartbreaking to me, but it's also really crucial to me to think about how Black and Asian communities have historically, the media has pitted us against each other. But then how historically, if we really look closely, these communities there's always been moments in which we've worked in solidarity with each other, and we've been able to identify larger systemic structures. So that's why I think ethnic studies is so important. It gives us opportunities to identify the systemic powers, right, and factors, so that we can then move forward. So we can identify what's happening now, and then we can envision a world in which we don't let the media pit us against each other.
Americans in this Thank you. So, and what I have been trying to teach the Asian community is like, friends, do you understand that your success, your prosperity, your civil rights that you enjoy right now was paid for with black blood?
Yes.
Right? And the fact that you don't recognize that shows you how much you take this for granted and how much you don't care about the future. Because if you understood this, you would be grateful for their sacrifice and understand what they have gone through for you to have rights?
Please be patient with me because there's so much here. I think the quick answer is that Asian Americans are given white privilege, especially the Asian Americans who fit the model minority stereotype. The quid pro quo for receiving that privilege is upholding white supremacy culture, which means being anti-Black. I was talking with somebody last night who was pointing out that the Civil Rights Amendment was passed in 1964. But also in the 1960s, the United States opened the door to Asian immigration. So now you have an influx of racial minorities who knew nothing about the history of white violence against Black people, knew nothing about the Black civil rights movement. So they arrived with civil rights, not understanding how that came to be. And also, it effectively erased the United States' own anti-Asian history, because Asian Americans came in not necessarily knowing about the Chinese Exclusion Act or the internment of Japanese Americans in the United States during World War II. And I think that Asian Americans are used as a buffer between the Black community and the white community, because in the 1960s, there was almost a racial reckoning. The white power structure almost had to face accountability for the history of violence against Black people. But instead, Asian Americans were inserted and were pit against each other, so that we're always up against each other, and that basically, like, white supremacy escapes accountability. And the example that I think of that sort of started like the root of a lot of tension is Asian Americans were buying into the negative media stereotypes of Black people. And then in the events that led up to what became known as the LA riots, the LAPD kettled protests away from wealthy white neighborhoods and into Koreatown, and then they left. And we know how that played out. So again, the two communities being pitted against each other and away from the white power structure. And obviously the model minority myth is used to oppress the Black community. And there's so much here. I will be getting more into it, but I feel like that's the quickest answer that I can give that gets a little bit into the history, and I'm really curious to know what the Black community and Asian Americans feel about this, but please be patient with me. Thank you.
Let's have the conversation that people love to sidestep, because anti-Blackness does not just come from white folks, and it for sure did not just appear out of nowhere. And if we're serious about solidarity, we have to trace where it actually started. Now, first thing, this is not about all Asian communities. That's lazy, and I am not lazy. But when we talk about patterns, we're talking about systems. And the system made sure that anti-Blackness wasn't just exported, it was globalized. See, when European powers colonized Asia, they didn't just take the land, they also imported hierarchy. They pushed the idea that lighter skin meant civility, wealth, purity, and darker skin was poverty, backwardness, and danger. And that colonial script seeped deep, from India to the Philippines, all the way to Japan. Skin tone became the ladder, and whiteness was always at the top. If we fast forward to Asian immigration in the US, you arrive in a country that's already built on anti-Blackness, already criminalizing Black life. And what do politicians do? They dangle a deal. If you distance yourself from Black people, we'll give you a seat closer to whiteness. And that's where the model minority myth comes in. It was never a compliment, it was always a weapon. The government used it in the 1960s to say, hey, look at these Asian immigrants. They work hard, they follow the rules. Why can't Black folks do the same? And that's when it turns survival into separation. And here's the ugly truth. Some communities actually leaned into it, right? Because of your family's safety, your visa, your livelihood depends on being seen as the good immigrant, you'll play the role, even if it means stepping on Black people to do it. But don't get it twisted, this was not organic hate. It was policy, it was propaganda, and it worked. Because it kept us divided while white supremacy stayed in power. So when we talk about Asian anti-Blackness today, whether it shows up in colorism, anti-Black policing in Asian-owned shops, or even silence around Black Death. We've got to understand that it didn't just fall from the sky. It was planted by colonizers, by governments, by systems that profit when we fight each other and not them. And until we name that history, we are not building solidarity. We're just repeating the cycle. And I, for one, refuse to keep the cycle quiet.
So something that needs to be addressed. Asian people. Asian people obviously don't understand that they're not white. I know that they try so hard to assimilate into whiteness against Black people, of course. They try so hard, but you're not white. The white people don't want your ass here in this country either. They don't. If you know your history, there was a time in this country where you weren't here. You weren't on this land. You weren't. It was based on the fact that Black people are the ones who fought for civil rights. And once Civil Rights Act was implemented, that allowed your ass to come over to this country. But you want to get over here, you Asian people, and acting all nasty to Black people, looking down on us, staring at us, acting like we're suspicious. Who the fuck do y'all think y'all are? Looking down on us. You should be kissing our asses, because if it wasn't for Black people, it wouldn't be no brown people over here. We fought for that. Our people fought for that, not yours. You get the benefit from it, but you didn't fight for it. So don't bring your Asian ass over here looking down on us. And that's what it is.
Okay, this is a video for all my Bay Area Asians out there who say the N-word and be having slurs in and out of their vocabulary. I think I needed to film this video because a lot of times when I see videos criticizing Bay Area Asians for saying the N-word, a lot of times in the comment sections, they'll be like, oh, well, you're not even from the Bay Area, so you don't even know our culture, you don't even know our history, etc., etc. Like, you don't even get, like, to speak on it. Okay, then as somebody born and raised in the Bay Area who is a proud Asian American from East Oakland specifically, I'm gonna speak on it. Y'all need to take the N-word out of your vocabulary because it's disgusting and disrespectful as fuck. A lot of times when you check a fellow Asian on them saying the N-word and to tell them to take it out of their vocabulary, the first thing they will say is, oh, well, you don't know where I'm from though. You don't know where I grew up. I grew up in a Black neighborhood. I got Black family. I got a Black auntie, okay? And all that type of nonsense. What I'm hearing, again, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You could check me if I'm wrong. I'm open to criticism. I'm open to educating myself further on this topic, 100%. What I'm hearing is you grew up with Black people that you feel so comfortable to disrespect them. You grew up with Black people, so you feel comfortable saying a disrespectful ass slur. That's what I'm hearing. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. How are you saying a fucking slur that has no historical or ancestral connection to you? And trying to justify it with the logic of, oh, well, it's the environment I grew up in. I'm from East Oakland. I grew up in the Dubs, bitch. I've never said the N-word. So I know you're not going to blame it on your environment. Because there's many Asian people who grew up in those same environments and never had the slur in their vocabulary in the first place. So it don't make no sense. Again, at the end of the day, when people use that as a logic to justify them saying a fucking slur, a slur rooted in the enslavement, dehumanization, lynching, murders, R-word, SA of Black American communities. Because that's what the weight of the word is. When y'all use that logic of, oh, it's my environment, I grew up this way, as a way to justify being disrespectful and saying a fucking slur that has no association with you, this is what I'm hearing. You grew up with Black people, so you think it's okay to disrespect them. You're too comfortable to disrespect Black people. That's what I'm hearing. And again, y'all can clock me, y'all can check me if I'm wrong. But honestly, I don't think so, because that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. What do you mean you grew up with Black people, so you say the N-word? What do you mean you grew up with Black people, so you feel so comfortable to disrespect them? But when somebody calls your mama a bitch, it's like, whoa, don't call my mama a bitch, though. And it's like, well, but I didn't mean bitch in that way. I didn't mean bitch in that way. but you're still gonna take offense to it. So how does that logic not apply the same way? And this topic always deeply irritates me because it's common fucking sense. How at your grown age are you still trying to justify saying a slur? And the justification, the logic behind the way y'all be trying to justify saying the N-word makes no sense. It's your environment. Like, you grew up with black people, so you feel so comfortable to disrespect them? That don't make any sense. You grew up with your mama too. Do you be disrespecting her like that? You be calling your mama a bitch? Like, what? What? And this topic is something I genuinely feel very passionate about because I used to call myself a Bay Area Asian because you just don't understand. Like, in the Bay Area, we have such a unique culture and the ways in which Asian American national identity was birthed and formed here. Like, Oakland Chinatown, the Yellow Peril movement, birthed alongside the Black Panthers, was the first time Asian American, Yellow American national identity was formed. An identity that counteracted white supremacist stereotypical notions of what Asian people look like and operated it in America. And so it's a term that I heavily identified with back then because it drawed on the memory and legacy of solidarity and activism and national identity building that was so foundational to the articulation and life of Asian Americans in the Bay Area. And now, being a Bay Area Asian, people automatically assume and stereotype you as an Asian person who says slurs. And so growing up now, I've started to distance myself from that self-labeling because, one, I don't want people to think that I'm an Asian person from the Bay Area who says the N-word because that's never been in my fucking vocabulary. And I definitely look down at Asian people from the Bay Area who say the fucking N-word because it's honestly so disgusting and gross. And it's so disrespectful. It's so fucking disrespectful because how are you going to disregard so much history and legacy that we've done in solidarity alongside Black American communities, specifically in the Bay Area, and turn it into like y'all saying slurs? Like, come on, like, what do you mean it's your environment? Bitch, I'm from the same environment. I don't be saying that. Like, what? Like, it's so embarrassing. And it's just honestly like, are y'all not tired of it? Are y'all not tired of saying the same word goddamn every single time at the end of every single fucking sentence? Like, oh my God, like, Jesus Christ. And like, but yeah, that's just honestly my 2 cents. I've started distancing myself from calling myself a Bay Area Asian because that is our representation. That is our representation. And honestly, I'm embarrassed that that's our representation and not the representation of what our people have done historically, bruh. Like, also, my last note for any of y'all bitches from Walnut Creek, Pleasanton, Concord, who grew up in white environments, trying to check me in the comment section because I know y'all are out there, y'all Natalie Nuns out there who be saying I'm from the Bay Area, but bitch, we not talking about that part of the Bay Area, okay? I'm from East Oakland, California, you know, one of the top cities of Bay Area culture. So don't even try to tell me my opinion is incorrect or not valid because I'm from the main city, the main motherfucking city of the fucking hyphy movement, ho. So yeah. Those are my credentials. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Now, let me start from the beginning, where people are fooled about black people. It was back then. It didn't start yesterday. It started 100 of years ago, during colonization and slavery. The European powers knew one thing. They knew that to dominate the world, they needed to demonize the Africans. Why Africans? Why did they not demonize Indians, Asians, Latinos? Why African? We will know about that. But I know a lot of you know the answer. They could not justify slavery if the world saw Africans as intelligent, spiritual, and royal. They couldn't justify colonization if the world knew Africa was already thriving. Now, so they created some false image. a caricature of blackness, and that they exported globally through books. They exported this narrative through religion, and later through movies and televisions. And the image said one thing, that black people or black equals to bad and white equals to good. That was the agenda. Africa equals to poverty and Europe equals to civilization. That was what they exported to the world. And they repeated it for centuries. They repeated until it became embedded in the world's, subconscious. Even people who had never met a black person, even just some random person who have never come across a black people, someone deep down in China, in the villages, already had options about black people. Just imagine that. Someone in Korea deep down there, they already have the ideas of black people and they already judged black people. And that's the power of propaganda. When that Asian America says that I was fooled, when someone's come from outside our community and said I was fooled, he or she is describing a system that didn't just fool him, but a system that fooled the entire generation, the entire continents, and the entire civilization. But you know what? We have something we call black power right now. Black power. We said, why did they choose to demonize Africa? It's because we had power. So they needed to neutralize our power with propaganda. So the system, it fooled Africans too into thinking that they needed white approval. It fooled Asians into thinking distancing from themselves from blackness meant safety. It fooled everyone into believing that the hierarchy of race was real when it was just an illusion. Now, the system built the lie. They built the lie. There were three main tools they used: education, media, and economics. They used media to manipulate. From early Hollywood, black people were shown as criminals in these movies. They were shown as clowns or hypersexual threats. They were never shown as great thinkers. They were never shown as inventors or leaders. Movies like Birth of a Nation, somewhere in 1915, portrayed black men as violent monsters. And that film was even screened in the White House. Imagine that. The most powerful office in the world endorsing racism as entertainment. And when that movie became the blueprint of how black people will be portrayed for decades. So when people around the world watched American films, they didn't just see fictions, but they saw what they thought was reality. They manipulated through education, suppression. In schools, African history began with slavery. Okay? They were not mentioning the pyramids. They were not mentioning the Timbuktu or Mansa Musa, the richest man ever recorded in history. They didn't mention the black Moors who civilized Europe. They did not mention of how African technology, medicine, and spirituality influenced the ancient world. They wanted every child to associate blackness with no brilliance. Now they came again and manipulated through economics, economic deception. They build an economy to our labor or on our labor or on labor of black people, and then told us black people that we were lazy. They stole resources from Africa and then told the world that Africa was poor. They destroyed Black Wall Street and then told the next generation that black people can't build wealth. Do you see how this lie protects itself? It is designed to erase evidence of our excellence. It is designed to erase it forever. And once you erase evidence, you control perception. Now, good family, I wish to talk about how immigrants got caught in the lie. Okay? Now, immigrants were told this: don't be like them. And if you stay quiet, if you work hard, and you just mind your business, you will succeed. That's what they were told. And that message wasn't about love. It was about control. That message was about creating the model minority myth. And that means that Asians are smarter and successful because they don't complain. And black people are poor because they are lazy and they complain too much. So that's how they divide us. Do you see how they did? Okay? I know all of you knows this, but talking to my coming generation, talking to this generation that is here, the Gen Zs, we must keep repeating these words, you know. Now, the moment the Asian people decided or looked beyond the media, beyond stereotypes, and met real black people, you will see the entire worldview changed, you know. And you see someone saying that I realized everything they told was a lie. Black people are not what I thought, you know, or what I was taught. They are beautiful, they are smart, they are full of heart. And that's what's happening when truth meets experience. When truth meets experience, illusion die. Okay? Now, every person who is programmed can be reprogrammed again. How? Through love, through experience, through proximity, you know. And that's why they usually build segregation. They build segregation to stop the truth from spreading through human interaction. They build segregation because when you sit at a table with a black family, when you share food, laughter, and stories with a black family, you will realize that the system lied. These guys are different. So the Asian people confession, they are going viral because millions of people feel the same guilty. The confession of Africans, black Africans, the confessions of Latinos, each and everyone outside our community, when they confess, it goes viral because millions of people feel the same guilty. And many are realizing that their distance from blackness wasn't natural, that it was taught. Okay? It was taught. And if they lied about black people, what else did they lie about? That's the question they're asking themselves. Now, that's awakening. It starts with one truth and end with the collapse of the entire illusion. Family, I want you to remember this. The greatest fear of the system is black unity, because once black people unite across borders, across class, across religion, the world balance shifts. And that's why they worked so hard to isolate us. That's why black Americans, they made black Americans to hate Africans. That's why they made Africans look down on African Americans. They made Caribbeans to feel separate. They even made other minorities to fear black people. Because if we ever connect, you know, if we saw ourselves as one family, no empire could control. No empire could control us. No. That's why the confession from these Asian Americans are so powerful. Because they are not just apologizing, but they are acknowledging that the system used them too, you know. Now, I'll say this. Sometimes I love, because we are connected spirituality, and as black people, we are more spiritual. Now, going deep, I'll say that what we are seeing right now, the awakening, is not just politics or social, it is spiritual. Because why did the world have to fear the black man and woman? Because within us lies the divine frequency of creation itself. That's what I wanted to answer on the first question that I asked, why they decided to demonize black people. Why only black people? It's because within us lies the divine frequency of creation itself. It's because we are the first image of humanity. The original reflection of the Creator is because our melanin is not just a skin color, it is light absorbing intelligence. And the Asian knew this. And that's why African spirituality was replaced with fear-based religion. That's why they told us to hate our features, our hair, to hate our skin, because those features carry divine codes. And when the Asian people said that black people are so kind despite how the world treats them, they are touching something spiritual. Our ability to love in a world that hates us is evidence of divine strength. It's not weakness. That is glory. It's like glory, or it's godly power. Let me use that word. It is godly power. And that's what the system fear the most. Not our anger, but they fear our light. Now, something is happening worldwide. People are waking up. Young Asian creators on TikTok are making videos saying that we were told to stay away from black people, you know, but that was a lie. They treated me better than others. They are creating these videos, and I see it's good. Even Latinos influencers are saying things, you know. Even white allies are saying a number of things that we realize our comfort zone from your suffering, you know. And this is what exposure does. It melts away ignorance, okay? And for the first time, the internet is destroying the gatekeepers, and no one controls the narrative anymore. The internet is breaking each and every lie. We are getting one-on-one information. We are getting one-on-one history. Now, the truth travels faster than the lie ever did. So when you see people of different races, when you see people of different community defending black lives, it's not out of pity, but it's out of understanding. And that is evolution. That prophecy is manifesting, or that is prophecy manifesting. Okay? Now, black people right now, or black people are no longer waiting for validation right now. We are redefining the black image. We are telling our own stories, and that's why we have these platforms. That's why I'm here talking to you, because we are redefining our black image, telling our story through YouTube, music, through businesses, and through movement. We are redefining the black image from victim to victor. We are becoming victorious, from stereotypes to symbol of global power. And that's why the Asian people, Latinos people, the white allies confession hits so hard, because it confirmed something. It confirms what black people already knew. It confirmed that the lie of black people was never about who we are, but it was about that who they feared would become. Who they feared would become. It's not who we are right now. And now that we control our platform, now that we control our businesses, our message spreads without filters. They cannot stop the truth anymore. Black excellence is visible. You're seeing it. In every industry, black culture sets the tone of the world. Black innovation drives the digital age. Black resilience defines modern history. So yes, the communities were full. The communities outside black people were full. And that's why I did that episode yesterday. Black people outside America are asking forgiveness, because now they are knowing the reality. They were full, but now they are learning from us. They are learning. Those communities outside black people, they are learning something. Okay? And there's a global reckoning unfolding. I don't know if you know that. There's a global reckoning unfolding. People everywhere right now are examining what they have been taught about blackness. They want to know more about the history. They are coming to Africa. They just want to know the truth, because they have realized there's a number of things they were lied to. African countries are reclaiming their power. Diaspora communities are reconnecting. And even black people are saying, you know what? We were part of the problem, and now we want to be part of the solution. That's right. If you want to be part of the solution, like I always say this, if you are white allies, we will not judge from just what you are saying, but we need to see something. Because you benefited from the privilege, now we want to see if you'll be part of the solution. Don't center yourself, just follow, So that shift scares the establishment. Why? Because their power relies on ignorance. But truth is contagious, and once one person wakes up, other follows. And that's why censorship rises when consciousness spreads, because the truth threatens profit built on oppression. But you know what? We are no longer begging to be seen as black people. We are standing so tall, very tall. Okay? They can't ignore us. They can't ignore us. If we enter a boardroom, they cannot ignore black people right now. And right now, even other people are realizing, the system fooled them too. So just imagine black people, Asian people, and all people of color building together. The new era of unity will be boom. And imagine black people and all people of color just building together. Economically, culturally, spiritually, no division, no comparison. Some things are imagination, but I think when it comes truth, when it is the truth, it causes some tremble somewhere, because the future looks like that. People of color uniting, because unity is evolution. And I see when all these Asian Latinos come out, and say they were fooled, and uses this platform to defend black people, to educate others in his community about stereotypes, It is awesome to see these things, because right now, you see, black people, we are not moving with the shouting, protesting. We are just quiet. Why? Because God of the universe is fighting for us. Nah, black people are just sitting home relaxing, and white people, Asian people, all these other groups are coming out and creating videos and saying, you know what, black people, we are sorry. Even Africans are saying, we are sorry, we were fooled. Black Americans are sitting down. Now, Africans are relaxing. The white people are coming out and saying, we need you, Africa. God of the universe is fighting for us. Okay? So let this message remind you something. The world is slowly waking up to who truly black people are. Even those who once believed the lies are now confessing. Okay? So I'll say this. Don't carry bitterness, carry pride, because even through centuries of deception, our truth still stands. They buried our names, our stories, our kingdoms, but they couldn't bury our spirit. So we are not victims of misunderstandings, but we are the revelation that destroys misunderstanding itself. So my black family, keep shining, keep loving, and keep teaching. And to those awakening, my Asian brothers, white allies, welcome to the truth. So the truth does not divide, but it heals. Now, tell me what you think on the comment section about this video. Until next episode, peace out.